Alaska. The final frontier. Join Debbie, Gary, Ginger, and I as we explore two of the most popular national parks in Alaska, Denali and Keni Fjords National Parks. Our adventure to Alaska was starting to resemble more of what I thought Alaska would look like. On the way to Denali National Park, we started spotting more wildlife, snow-covered peaks, glaciers, waterfalls, and beautiful lakes and streams. In 1867, Tsar Alexander II of Russia decided to sell Alaska because Russia was having economic troubles. The Tsar reasoned that they would be better off selling the territory than waiting for it to be taken over by another country. He offered to sell the land to the United States. He sent a Russian diplomat to enter negotiations with William Seward. Seward's negotiations resulted in the purchase of 6 million square miles at a cost of $7,200,000. The resulting cost was only a few cents per acre. Despite the low cost of the purchase, several critics referred to the action as Seward's Folly, thus the origin of its name. Despite the critics, public opinion of the transaction remained high. As we headed north from Anchorage, towards Denali National Park, we began to see more and more wildlife. The sights were nothing, if not spectacular as well. It actually felt like there were more adventures on the horizon. The excitement was beginning to build thinking of our reservations on Denali's green bus tour. However, Denali and seeing wildlife, and especially a glimpse of the newly renamed Mount McKinley, has always been a hit-and-miss experience. Our tour guide explained that Mount McKinley is only visible about 20% of the time, due to its extreme height, so high that it makes its own weather. This means that even on days when the sky appears clear, the mountain may still be hidden by low clouds or fog. As luck would have it, it seemed as if we would get to see not only Mount McKinley, but wildlife in their natural habitat. Most were seen from a great distance. However, by using a 300mm zoom lens, I managed to get some usable shots of Denali National Park's wildlife. This included moose, bear, and caribou. Views of glaciers slowly descending inch by inch down the mountains were now becoming more and more numerous. I was beginning to fall in love with Alaska. Here, there's so much to see and do. Fresh, crisp air, cool breeze, the scent of the pine trees. The subtle beauty of a meandering stream or mighty waterfall. The glimpse of a massive moose with her calf grazing peacefully in the open meadows. Meadows that are filled with colorful wildflowers. Massive mountains towering above the tree line, exposing its rocky face. Falling in love with a state or destination is not an easy task for me. I have spent over 60 years exploring the beauty of North America. Each location unique in its environment. But the wilderness of Alaska seemed to be calling out to me. The hint of a new adventure around every corner. The promise that the next experience will be more breathtaking than the last. God's finest masterpiece. Mount McKinley is actually taller than Mount Everest. Yes, you heard that right. Mount Everest is considered the tallest mountain in the world. Mount Everest height was most recently measured in 2020 by Chinese and Nepali authorities as 29,031 feet above sea level. However, from its base to summit, Everest rises roughly 12,000 feet. Mount McKinley is the highest mountain peak in North America, with an elevation of 20,310 feet above sea level. From McKinley's base, it has a vertical rise to its summit, estimated at 18,000 feet. That is 6,000 feet taller than Mount Everest. This makes Mount McKinley the tallest mountain in the world from base to peak. Currently, all transit buses only travel to mile 43 of the East Fork. This is the turnaround point for the 2025 season. A bridge is being constructed to restore access to the rest of the 92 miles of roadway through the park. The Pretty Rocks landslide has been active since at least the 1960s, and probably since well before the Denali Park Road was built through this area in 1930. Prior to 2014, the landslide only caused small cracks in the road surface and required repair every 2 to 3 years. By 2016, the movement had increased further, and a sag had developed in the roadway. The park began to document the rate of road movement within the landslide area. The destruction of the road evolved from inches per year to inches per month in 2017. By 2021, the roadway had started to sink over half an inch per hour. This can be seen from this national park video. A great way to observe wildlife in the wilderness is during a bus trip in Denali. The only road traversing the park is open only to buses May 29 through mid-September. Denali is 6 million acres of wildland, divided by one road. Travelers along it see the relatively low-elevation taiga forest give way to high alpine tundra and snowy mountains. North America's tallest peak, at 20,310 feet. Mount McKinley. Solitude, tranquility, and wilderness await explorers of this exquisite wilderness. Despite being a little disappointed that our movement through Denali had been abbreviated, we were looking forward to our next adventure. Notwithstanding the short stay at Denali, we were very fortunate to actually see Mount McKinley. We also were able to see a large variety of wildlife. Soon we turned our sights towards Seward, Alaska and Keni Fjords National Park for our boat tour. Along the way, the sights became more impressive the closer we got to Seward. Seward is the fourth largest city in the Kenai Peninsula borough, only smaller to Kenai, Homer, and the borough seat of Soldotna. The city is named for former United States Secretary of State William H. Seward. Seward sits at the northern end of Resurrection Bay. Resurrection Bay is called the gateway to the Kenai Fjords. Many water taxis, kayak tours, anglers, and recreational boaters use the bay to access nearby Keni Fjords National Park. Seward is among the most lucrative commercial fishing ports in the United States. Seward is the southern terminus of the Alaska Railroad and the historic starting point of the original Iditarod Trail to interior Alaska. As we headed out towards the Keni Fjords, we found our tour boat. The Skanna is an 86-foot catamaran with a seating capacity of 150 passengers. The Skanna has an interior heated cabin and 2 levels of exterior deck spaces. The Skanna's third level has an unobstructed 360-degree view from the top deck covered by an awning. The bow has a stadium-style standing area. This enables explorers to face into the wind and feel as if they were gliding across the water. The cruising speed is 28 knots, or 32 miles per hour. Our tour boat set sail starting in Seward and quickly followed Resurrection Bay to the south. Wrapping around the Ialik Peninsula, our boat headed back towards the north, cutting through Ialik Bay. This maneuver brought us closer to Keni Fjords and Hallgate Glacier on the southeast edge of the Harding Icefield. The boat tour was not a disappointment. Despite expecting the token massive orca whale to spring out of the water next to the boat, with its fin held high in the air, giving tourists a hearty welcome, as well as anticipating the boat to be seemingly feet from the glaciers, as a huge token sheet of ice separates from the mountainous ice field and comes crashing down into the bay, drenching all of the tourists on the deck. I mean, every time you see a commercial of an Alaskan cruise, that's what you see. That's what you expect. Right? Fjords are characterized by steep cliffs, or mountains, on three sides. Long and narrow, fjords are typically much longer than they are wide. Keni Fjords is a national park renowned for its dramatic landscape of glaciers, fjords, and abundant wildlife, including orcas, puffins, and sea lions. Keni Fjords National Park has a name that comes from two very different places. Keni is adapted from the name of the Athabascan indigenous people that historically lived in the area, and a fjord is an Old Norse word for a long, glacier-carved inlet. In the 1970s, efforts to protect the area led to the designation of the Keni Fjords National Monument in 1978 by President Jimmy Carter. As mentioned earlier, the boat tour did not disappoint. It felt great to be back on the water. We saw fantastic natural features. We were closer to a glacier than we had ever been. We saw flocks of seagulls and puffins. We saw sea lions sunning themselves of the rocks. We saw marine caves and sea stacks that dotted the coastal shores. Thanks for joining in our adventure. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. It doesn't cost anything and helps us to continue to explore and bring those adventures to you and others. And don't forget to like and share. Thank you.